the situation in Kherson region. We have Serhii Khlan online, live with us, the deputy of Kherson Regional Council. Good afternoon, we're from Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Kherson is Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Mr. Serhii, I want to start our air from the declarations of Russian bloggers, media, and they, in unison, they keep telling that the counteroffensive is being planned, that the local population is about to be evacuated from the area. They call the numbers of 15 to 16,000 people to be evacuated from the area. What's your take on that? Doesn't this look as the information operation? The situation started escalating from yesterday's evening, but the situation with escalation of the warfare and the informational warfare started more than 2 weeks ago in the region of Kherson, and yesterday the situation popped up about mass evacuation. This evacuation is indeed a deportation, and the purpose of such deportation is to create panic in Kherson. And in the night we started, the messages started coming to people about the evacuation to be started today at 7 o'clock in the morning, to arrive to the river port for further evacuation. A lot of people did arrive, but the occupants did not start any evacuation-deportation, and they were waiting for the moment until the number of people is being gathered, which could be filmed for their propaganda. And the information then popped up that only about 1,600 the boats would come who would take the people to the other bank of Dnieper. So there were announcements of buses waiting for the people in amount of 1,000 persons. So they are just creating panic and the picture for their propaganda, and they do it exclusively to prepare the provocations for sharing of residential areas, to become the reason for the occupants to leave the right bank of Dnieper and the city of Kherson itself. And as the Russian commander mentioned, they will take a complicated decision. So this complicated decision will be covered by this evacuation-deportation and provoked shellings. Also, there was an announcement by Salda, the occupant Gauleiter, about a number of people already evacuated. So for what I understand, they did it yesterday, and we provided this information that the occupants take everything from the banks and their occupant administrations, and they confirmed it today that all the collaborationist institutions are already evacuated, and the duty trips of Saldo and Stremovus of Tukhinishins, they look logical now, because now we're getting the information that Genishinsk is going to be their new collaborationist capital. And the announcement that the occupants are going to organize the departure of doctors and teachers today is frightening, because we understand that what happens in panic now, notwithstanding the fact that we always called our people to be prepared to the moment of the occupation, mostly They are people who came, who were taking part in these fake referendums where they said that Kherson is Russia forever. So now they flee in mass with the collaborationists. After that, I foresee the withdrawal of the troops, this so-called complicated decision that they implement further on after these theatrical actions being taken in Kherson. Mr. Serhii, what is the general mood in Kherson inhabitants? Because we understand that the situation may arise where they would be forcibly deported, as they announced 50 to 60,000 people to be deported. So as of today, they officially mentioned the number of 1,000 people. So I don't understand, will they extend it for 60 days? But if we look through the list of things that they recommend to the people to be taken with them, those are things and documents which only fall into a one-way ticket framework. So what they mentioned when they evacuate people to the left bank of Dnieper of the Kherson region, and they will be relocated there in their new dwellings. I mentioned that it's impossible to relocate and to provide bulletin to this number of people in the left bank of Kherson region. Now I got the information that people would be relocated not just to Crimea, but to Russia, maybe all the way behind Ural River. So Russia acts in their best deportation traditions, just like Crimean Tatars were deported during World War II. We also heard the declarations of Vitaly Kim today, who mentioned that the Russians move material to the region of Kherson, and maybe we should be ready for the occupants to commit strikes on the city of Kherson. Well, it's a commonly known fact that the occupants, as soon as they withdraw from any settlement, they completely destroy this settlement, the cities and towns. According to the information of Vitaly Kim, that their tanks and artillery starts digging in around Kherson. That's their common practice, and they were using tanks only dug in trenches only as cannons, so that they cannot be damaged easily. The fact that they use the same fortification structures on the border of Crimea, and I mentioned that before, and that was information that surprised everybody back then. And they showed the situation as absolutely stable, but at the same time started building the fortifications in the Crimean borderline. So the fact that the occupants planned the withdrawal to the left bank, being camouflaged by all this deportation theater, we will have provocations for sure. It's 100%, and they will evacuate to the occupied Crimea, and this is why they build these fortification installations on the borderline. All right, about the deoccupied settlements in Kherson regions, which are deoccupied 100%. We have 29 settlements: Vysokopilya, Velika Alexandrivka, Devinny Brod, Vysokorivka. There is an official list divulged of the deoccupied cities and towns and villages in Kherson region. If we talk about Mykolaiv region, it's Posad, Pokrivska. However, upon this complicated decision by the Russians, we will see all the right bank of the Dnieper River deoccupied, along with the city of Kherson. Today we had information from general staff about the damage of Russians, destruction on the right bank. Yes, there was information about the destruction of the storage facilities in Verislavsk region, and one helicopter, Ka-52 strike helicopter, was shot down as well. That was within the framework of preparation of the occupation. Our armed forces gradually work on the Russia's storages, and we get more and more information about warfare results and the preparation of Russians to leave the right bank of Dnieper in Kherson region. So we see armed forces of Ukraine gradually destroying logistic infrastructure of the occupants, so that their capabilities of moving their arms and material to the right bank of the Dnieper. So this consequence of actions actually led to the actions being taken by them today. Dear colleagues, your questions. Good afternoon, Valentina Rigel, Ukrinform. The information started showing up that the occupants started lowering the level of water in Kakhovka hydraulic power plant. Do you know anything about that? Can you comment on that? It looks just like another way of stealing the water. It looks like another escalation of situation because there is no flooding now. The northern Crimea channel was opened by the occupants from the very first day of occupation, which they boasted of intensely, and the channel is currently filled, and it has a mechanic way of opening, but it's 100% full, and it's impossible to dump water additionally to the channel because it doesn't even have pump stations. I reiterate that it's 100% full. The Kakhovka central channel, it has pump stations, and the water level may be lifted there. Additional water may be pumped in there, but once again, there is no flooding now, and it's not more than information provocation by the Russians. But release of water from Kakhovka hydraulic power plant in the autumn is not being done usually during water time, and the state water resources agency regulates it usually, but the Kakhovka hydraulic power plant is being controlled by occupants now, and the next dam on Dnieper, it's being regulated by our water resources agency, and there is no need to release water, so it's a provocative information action. Mr. Serhii, any advice for our inhabitants of Kherson who stay in the occupied city? We already gave our advice to the inhabitants of Kherson. The occupants prohibited any entrance to Kherson region now. There is no information as to leaving the area, but the common recommendation is to leave from the occupied territory to the area controlled by Ukrainian armed forces. Don't follow the occupants' advice, don't follow this forced deportation, and we were reiterating it every day. We were saying it in each air, every life, to have a reserve of water, to have a reserve of food, of meals, some clothes, wait for the arrival of Ukrainian armed forces, be ready to the occupation. Mr. Serhii, thank you for finding time to come on air live. So we believe in our armed forces, and we believe Kherson will come back under Ukrainian banner soon. Thank you, dear colleagues. Until next time.